Hey everyone. I wanted to talk through our discussion lab number 4 since it's a little different and we haven't done a discussion like this before. So first of all, because I'm the teacher, I have a teacher view, but I can also enable a student view. So that's why you see this pink around the image here and why it's also a little bit funny up here in this blue area. Since I'm not really a student, I'm trying to give you the best experience that I can without seeing my teacher view, which might be confusing. All right, so in our discussion lab number 4, I found an article last week about how Alabama discriminated against Black residents over sewage. And I thought that would be a really interesting thing to study because clearly they decided that there was discrimination for Black residents. But I got to thinking, why or how would they have figured that out? So I thought I would pose that to you guys. So by Wednesday, I want you to read this article. I have told you like where it was from and the date, so you can go look for it, but it's probably behind a paywall. So I put the reference there, and then the article is pretty short in the grand scheme of New York Times articles. So that's by Wednesday. Just get it in your head, like what it is that we're talking about. Then by Friday, I want you to answer these questions. Now, some of these questions they're not meant to be like leading you step by step through everything, but to kind of give you some thinking points of like, oh, okay, if I were to make an experiment, what would I do? Like, where do you even start with an experiment? So the first question is, would this be a study that's best done as an observational study or an experiment? And then think about why each of those might be which one of those might be the better answer. There's no best answer in research, so that's why I emphasize the better there. And you'll notice that I ask why on everything because I want to know not just an answer, but can you back up your answer? And then I want you to think about who or what would you sample? And kind of in parallel with that, what variables would you study? So if you need to know some facts, you need to know who to talk to, or what to talk to, what to study to get those facts. So parts 2 and 3 kind of tie together really well. And then if you were to take a sample, how would you actually collect the data? And then why did you choose that? Once you have data, pretend that we've gone and collected data, think about what graphs and statistics you would use to summarize the data. So what would be a useful graph? And then alternatively, what would not be a useful graph? If you can think about maybe what you want to do in the end of your study, you can kind of step backwards and think about, oh, if I want to make a scatter plot, then I'm going to need 2 numerical variables. Okay, what are those variables? And so that's kind of my thought process of stepping backwards. And then 6, what would you be looking for in your graphs or statistics to determine that discrimination occurred? So if you know discrimination when you see it, what is it that you are looking at to kind of get that gut feeling? And there is a lot of like technical stuff that we could go into, but I'm not going that direction. I just want you to like think about what it is you'd want to look at to make a comparison or make an observation to decide, oh, yep, there was some discrimination there. And then question 7 is sort of an opportunity to give back. So what are you confused about? What do you still need information about? What's unclear? Yeah, so kind of like fill in the blank. You may not have much for part 7, but you may have had more questions pop up based on questions 1 through 6. And then I also gave you some sources of data and from the CDC, just what is wastewater treatment. So that kind of might get you a little bit curious about if this is the type of data that's out there, you're like, what other data might there be? What do I know? What do I not know? All right, so those answers are then done by Friday and you'll reply to your own discussion board. When you reply to your discussion board, you are going to be only seeing the responses from your small group. So anywhere from 5 to 7 students are in a small group. So then after your whole group has posted their answers to the discussion, I want you to read through their responses over the weekend and then start connecting with your group members so that you can work synchronously, like, I don't know, maybe Tuesday at 8 p.m. everyone has time free and you can meet up for an hour and then just kind of hammer out what might be a, good enough way to study this data. You'll, let's see. So as you kind of figure out a plan in those next few days, so by Friday, I want you to turn in your responses to questions 1 through 6. I haven't put up the Google document yet, so that's what's a little confusing, but I will put a link to a Google document into your own group's discussion so that you have someplace pre-made to start typing in your answers. And you might find that your group members have a lot of similar answers. You might find that they are not similar at all. But if you kind of look at everyone's, you can kind of get an idea for if everyone's on the same page, and then take little bits from everyone's work and make sure that everyone contributes to the final product that you're turning in by a week from Friday. So then the way that I'm grading this is that you're mostly getting a lot of credit for turning in your answers. And then you're getting 8 points out of the 20 points for turning in the group effort. And I know that group effort can be tricky because you don't want to lose points from someone else's work. And so I'm just kind of going on if you're doing your fair share, because everyone's going to be typing in their answers in a different color. And so if it seems like there's not, sort of a fair share among the responses, then I'll talk with the group and then see if there are any problems and then adjust grades accordingly, and figure out what that other group member or members can do to make up points that they have lost. So it's not lose points and you're done. Like everything, you can return in things and improve and get to a higher score. So that would be the case. We'd come up with something special to make those students earn their credit from the group project. So I hope that is helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know. You can post them in the discussion board or send me an email. Bye.